Hello, this is Mr. Red Fox, and here's a little video where I'm going to be talking about um, 10 things we want to see in Fallout New Vegas 2. I'm going to be reading this article out aloud, and then I'll give my take on it. Um, and this is from thegamer.com. The rumor mill is once again in full spring, and the hottest new leak this time around is something many gamers have been begging for since we first got our hands on its predecessor way back in 2010. Fallout New Vegas 2. Don't get too excited, as this is all just rumors and unsubstantiated leaks for the time being. But it's not out of the realm of possibility. Back in 2018, Microsoft bought the developer Obsidian Entertainment, the team behind Fallout New Vegas. In 2021, they purchased ZeniMax Media, which in turn owns Bethesda, the Fallout franchise's current developers and copyright holders. Now that the Fallout IP holders and the New Vegas developers are united under one roof, what could a Fallout New Vegas 2 look like more than 10 years after the original game's release? Okay then, so the first one is a new setting. For the time being, New Vegas 2 is just a working title. In truth, the only thing tying this unreleased Fallout game to New Vegas is the possibility it will be developed by Obsidian Entertainment. So that begs the question, where would Obsidian choose to set a new Fallout game? Although a lot of fans want to see the franchise move somewhere outside the USA, such as Mexico or Canada, it's more likely that Obsidian would end up sticking to their West Coast roots. New California or Alaska are probably the best popular choices, but let's be real, the coolest choice would be Hawaii. I fucking agree. Fallout Hawaii would be great because you could essentially do a Fallout you could essentially call out you could call out I mean, you could have DLC that could have you going to Japan, maybe Tahiti, maybe parts of Russia or China. You could go to, you could see how the effects of the Great War affected other places aside from just America, which would be great. Number 9, more special choices. Fallout New Vegas allowed you more so than any other Fallout game to influence the world around you in extremely specific ways, provided you had the correct perks or special points to unlock these options. Low intelligence builds were particularly amusing for exactly this reason. This was something that was largely missing from Fallout 4, likely a casualty of the more simplified dialogue mechanic, i.e., they streamlined it till it was just a fucking adventure game. Hopefully, whoever ends up making Fallout New Vegas 2 has heard gamers' cries for more stat-based interactions, because Jesus Christ, who let you get away with that, sir? Me only want to play new game if game be big good. Oh, they're using the low intelligence speak. Okay, that makes sense. I thought that was actual. Yeah, in Fallout 1, 2, 3, and New Vegas, if your intelligence stat was low enough, you couldn't communicate well, so you'd basically be talking in caveman speak. Fallout 4's gunplay. Fallout 4 is not a perfect game. No shit, Sherlock. A shaky, bug-filled launch, a half-baked settlement mechanic, dozens of lore-breaking offenses, multiple functions from previous games either watered down or removed completely. The list is never-ending. Yeah, you could do a whole article just on how Fallout 4 was an embarrassment. One thing Fallout 4 did get right, though, was its FPS combat. Although Fallout New Vegas improved upon Fallout 3's gunplay in many ways, the difference between New Vegas and Fallout 4 is night and day. Hardcore fans, Fallout fans, will always prefer that the games are RPGs first and first-person shooters second. But a sequel to Fallout to New Vegas still has to at least maintain the same standard of quality Fallout 4 has already set. I mean, I'd be cool with that, but what people don't understand is the reason that the first-person shooter aspects of Fallout 4 are good is because id Software people made that, worked on that. Bethesda didn't work on that. And I'll agree. That's one of the few good things about Fallout 4 is that the first-person shooter, the shooting does feel good. Different weapons feel different. Like if you have a shotgun, it feels like a shotgun. If you have a handgun, it feels like a handgun. Although I'm still not down with energy-based weapons like lasers and plasma weapons having recoil. Makes no sense. A laser should not have recoil. Number 7, Wilder Wasteland. The Wild Wasteland perk is universally beloved by Fallout New Vegas fans, allowing lore-loving gamers the opportunity to have their cake and eat it by introducing bizarre, non-canonical events and characters into the Mojave, should the player choose to take the perk. The best part of the perk is how it enhances replayability, allowing players to experience the same event in two different ways on a second playthrough. Honestly, it's borderline perfect how it was. So we can only ask for more of the same. More events, more characters, and perhaps even completely alternate quests. Yes! That would be awesome. I remember in Fallout New Vegas, one of the Wild Wasteland perks, like one of the things that would happen in Wild Wasteland is if you took Wild Wasteland, you could, like as soon as you leave Good Springs, you could run across a refrigerator with brown fedora and a guy in a brown fedora and a skeleton in a brown fedora and brown outfit and tan pants in the refrigerator in homage to Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull's shitty nuclear test stunt. And other things that like completely changed the game. To be honest with you, I consider Wild Wasteland the standard way to play New Vegas, because having beaten New Vegas like dozens of times in the standard difficulty and with mods, these days I only play it if I'm playing a standard run through with Wild Wasteland on. So to me, that's the normal way to play the game these days. Number 6, better character customization. I 100% agree with that. Regardless of what Fallout game we're talking about, building a character in the Wasteland has never been a painless process. To be fair, Fallout 4 did a fair amount of improvements to its character creation system, like the ability to sculpt certain areas of your face, but it was far from a perfect system. More importantly, though, the world of Fallout is home to dozens of twisted human offshoots, none of which we've been able to play since the release of 2004's Fallout Brotherhood of Steel. Ghouls, synths, super mutants, hell, let us play as the long-forgotten Beast Lords. Better yet, let these have some kind of effect on gameplay, too. Let us do a high-intelligent super mutant run, or even a shunned ghoul turned homicidal raider playthrough. Yes! Yes, I agree with all that. You know, I said this in my own video talking about things that I would love the New Vegas to do under Obsidian, is to have different playable classes aside from just, you know, people. Aside from just the standard human beings. Because, I mean, you do have gangers, you do have ghouls, you do have super mutants, Gen 1, Gen 2, or Gen 3. You do have the Nightkin. You do have synths. You do have cyborgs. You have different versions of the synths. Like, there's so much variety you could have that would change up how you play. Like, maybe, you know, like I said earlier in my other video, maybe, like, in one video, you do have something going on where, or in one game, maybe, you know, sorry, in one class, maybe if you're a synth, you're really good at hacking, but your base stats don't really go up unless you get components that you install into yourself. So once your special stats are set, that's it. You know, same thing if you're a cyborg or something else. Enhanced survival mode. Survival mode, first introduced in Fallout New Vegas as hardcore mode, is a very authentic way to enjoy a romp through the post-apocalypse. It would be the best way to play Fallout if the recent titles were not the hosts to dozens of bugs and crashes, that is. There have been lots of mods to enhance survival mode. That is true. And it would be nice to see some of these find their way into New Vegas too. Being able to carry around a sleeping bag so you can save, making nights darker, and not letting you pause the game through your Pit-Boy are all popular mods to make survival mode a more palatable experience. So it would be nice to see them properly integrated into the game. I agree, 100%. You know, you should have the option to do it. I don't want it to turn into Fallout 76 where you're carting around a whole bunch of bullshit so that you can build a base camp. But it would be interesting if your character did have like a backpack that had like a sleeping bag on it that you could put down. Like, let's say you're in the beginning of a dungeon and you basically spike the doors into like the vestibule of the dungeon so you're not getting attacked or anything. And it's like, look, it was a fight getting up here. I need to rest and heal up and optimize, like make my condition as good as I can before I dunge this vault or this cave or whatever. That'd be good. That'd be good. Vehicles. Vehicles are a bit of a rarity in the world of Fallout. Fully functioning ones are in scarce supply, but they do indeed exist, mostly in the form of vertibirds or trucks. And don't forget the metro train in New Vegas. Fallout 4 already let us hop in the passenger seat of a vertibird and tour Boston from up high, so why not go the extra mile and let us drive a vehicle on our own? Whilst learning to fly a vertibird or even just driving a big, clunky atomic V8 car would be cool, something a bit more compact like a motorcycle would work just as well. The NCR are well known for their horse-mounted units, so that's an option too. Besides, maybe if the courier had a car, Benny wouldn't have just been able to track them down on foot, kidnap them, and shoot them in the head. Just a thought. I agree. I agree. I 100% agree. I think that I've said this before in a previous video, and I think I'll link that video to this video. Yeah, vehicles are a must, and I don't mean, oh well, we have fucking power armor. Power armor should be an earned thing that's extra on top of that. I think maybe getting a hover car or a motorcycle or a boat, like some type of vehicle that it's not fast travel. You're literally traveling around the world on the vehicle, because it just seems like a wasted opportunity. But that's my own personal opinion. So I think in today's day and age, there's no excuse for you not having vehicles in a Fallout game. Like, there's just no reason for there not to be vehicles in a Fallout game. Like, especially when you play Rage and Rage 2, that are essentially like a more first-person shooter Fallout, and you've got vehicles, like tons and tons of vehicles. Companions, except real. Fallout 76 was an interesting idea. I disagree. The execution was somewhat lacking, yes, but the game was always at its best when you had a friend to enjoy it with. Now, nobody wants to see an always online New Vegas 2 devoid of a true player experience. A true single-player experience. But perhaps the standard format could be enhanced with just one extra friend. Although the post-apocalypse is an unforgiving setting with little hope or kindness, it's never been a lonely place. Different factions and companions have always made surviving in the wasteland that much more bearable. Therefore, different factions and companions have always... Okay, therefore, so why not let a friend of our choosing drop in every now and again, just as long as they don't mind being upstaged by our true best friend, Dogmeat. I'd be okay with that. I think having an online multiplayer option that could basically be used to play with your friends would be nice. I just would want to see, like, the problem with a two-player option is that I wouldn't, like, I personally wouldn't want to see a two-player option where someone comes into your game and fucks it up. Like doing missions and fucking up side quests and shit like that. I wouldn't be down with that. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I like the idea, but I don't necessarily want to see it poorly utilized, if you get what I'm saying. But that's just me. Third-person mode improvements. It's not unfair to say that third-person mode in every single Bethesda game could be improved. In fact, to be fair, it's not exactly easy to create an engine that can excel in both first and third-person combat, but it is especially wonky in Fallout games. The Elder Scrolls can get away with this a bit more, considering all you're doing is swinging weapons around. New Vegas and more recently Fallout 4 are not exempt from this criticism. The third-person camera is basically just there to let you check out how awesome you look every now and again. We're not expecting The Last of Us levels polished, just something passable so we can look cool and shoot at the same time. I agree, because a lot of people want to treat those games like they're first-person shooters. And, if you want to treat it like a first-person shooter, it's got to be better than what it's been doing. I agree. I know some people will disagree with that statement, but, that's my opinion. And finally, number 1, the return of the Enclave. The Enclave have been heavily excluded from Fallout as of late, with only passing mention of them made in Fallout 4 and featuring a single questline in Fallout New Vegas, a far cry from their prominent roles in both Fallout 2 and Fallout 3. Exactly how they made their return is up to Obsidian, especially considering most of the faction was wiped out in both the East and West Coast. Having them as a full-blown faction you can join this time around could be a fun replacement for the likes of the Institute or the Legion. I think it would be cool if the Enclave were a faction, but it's a faction that you could rebuild in a completely different mode. Like, you could rebuild the Enclave from being basically the darker version of the Brotherhood of Steel, even though, like, functionally the Brotherhood of Steel and the Enclave are the same. Except the Enclave is expansionistic, where this Brotherhood of Steel is isolationist, but functionally they're the same faction. I would essentially say that it would be very interesting to have those factions essentially be have the Enclave be a faction that was in decline. Maybe a few Brotherhood of Steel oldsters are like, we could rebuild it and not make the same mistakes of the past, like being expansionist and like trying to take over shit and being dicks. Maybe we could, basically rebuild ourselves. Because don't forget, in Fallout New Vegas, a lot of the people who were like the followers of the Apocalypse, like a lot of the people in the followers of Apocalypse used to be Enclave members. And the followers of the Apocalypse, people love them because they're actually helping people after the Apocalypse. So, I do think that could be a viable option for a future game. But what do you think about this article? Agree, disagree? Rate, comment, share, subscribe. I will leave a link to this article and a link to the video where I gave my takes on what I'd like to see in a Obsidian Fallout New Vegas 2 game. So, peace, have a good day, and see ya.